It is Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I am Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we will be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics that we know y'all want to hear about. So stick around. It's going to be fun. Wade, how's your Thursday?
Man, Thursday has snuck up on us, and we are on the downslide of this week. Temperatures are warming up. Got high school football cranking up tonight, NFL football cranking up tonight. It is we made it, I guess, is the way I'm approaching this Thursday.
There we go. There we go. Making it to the end of another week, which is always a good thing. In our second hour today, we will visit with Matt Stahl of AL.com as we get you ready for the third Saturday in October. And it's a game that has traditionally, but not always, been played on the third Saturday of October. This year it is, as Alabama visits Tennessee in a traditional Southeastern Conference matchup, and a couple of pretty highly acclaimed football teams. So again, Matt Stahl of AL.com will be joining us in the second hour to talk a little bit about that. In the next segment, we will be joined by Riverdale football coach Will KRIESKY on Coach's Corner. That's Will KRIESKY, not to be confused with Matt KRIESKY. And it's an easy enough confusion to have. The two will be playing each other tomorrow night. So checking in with one of the KRIESKY brothers and seeing what communication's been like this week between them, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
Riverdale on a roll right now. Blackman trying to slow the Warriors down a little bit tomorrow night. So we will talk a little bit to Will, and during that segment, we will also present our weekly Team and Athlete of the Week awards. So stick around for that. We'll be talking some Major League Baseball postseason play, and again, some off the field MLB potential developments as well. Final segment will be the grab bag, as we will catch up on some NFL, some NHL, and some NCAA items. So stick around for that. And it is Throwback Thursday. We'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation that we had with former UT Southern / Martin Methodist bowling coach, Mr. 300, Bob Learn. That'll be at the top of the hour, so be sure and stick around for that as well. So got an action-packed show, as we typically do. Again, a lot going on this time of year, and happy to have the opportunity to talk a lot about it. So Wade, I guess without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Strap in, gang. Thursday rundown gets underway right now, and we go to the scoreboard from last night, where the Los Angeles Dodgers shut out the Mets for the second time in 3 games. 8-0 was your final last night, as they take a 2-1 lead in that NLCS. The Liberty squeak out an 80-77 win. Great ball game between them and the Lynx, and the Liberty with a 2-1 advantage in that series. More on both of those coming up a little bit later. Into your schedule for tonight, volleyball action. All these matches getting underway at 7 p.m. Sectional action as we see Cleveland at Blackman. Station Camp hitting the road to travel to Brentwood. It'll be Summertown at Camden Central tonight. Collierville is at Clarksville. Hume Fogg is on the road at Creekwood. Riverdale is visiting East Hamilton. Eagleville is visiting East Robertson. Nolensville hitting the road for a trip to Green Hill. Rossview and Houston are set to tangle at 7 o'clock tonight. Harpeth will make the trip down to South Lawrence County to take on Loretto. And Lexington will visit Valor Collegiate. Again, sectional volleyball action this evening.
In girls soccer action, these are region finals. Smith County travels to Liberty Creek for a 6 o'clock first touch. Clarksville is at Rossview at 6. At 7, Oakland goes across. What is that? Is it 96 to Siegel? Yeah. Fairview plays at Sycamore at 6. Station Camp is at Valor Collegiate. We don't have a start time for that one. Cheatham County is at Westview at 6. Gallatin is at Hendersonville at 7. Merrill Hyde travels to Lead Academy at 7. And Franklin is at Page in a rematch of that district championship at 7. Major League Baseball action at 4:08 today. The Yankees and the Guardians will start game 3 of the American League Championship Series. You can see it on TBS. And at 7:08, game 4 of the National League Championship Series between the Dodgers and the Mets. Again, 7:08 start. You can see it on FS1. NHL action tonight, 7 o'clock, back down at Bridgestone Arena. The Nashville Predators are hosting the Winnipeg Oilers. Preds looking for their first win still. And at 7:15 on Amazon Prime, it is the Denver Broncos and the New Orleans Saints in Thursday night football. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. As always, by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as Wade mentioned in the rundown, the Liberty goes on the road for game 3 of the WNBA Finals and trailed for the longest. In fact, it was 73-69 late. I checked on it. I wasn't able to watch, but I was trying to keep tabs on it. And it was, again, 73-69 coming down the stretch. So imagine my surprise when I checked on it again. It was 80-77 Liberty final as Sabrina Ionescu hit a pair of threes in the final minute, the last one winning it for the road team. The Liberty's first road win in the postseason since 1999. But the former Oregon star comes up huge down the stretch for the Liberty, giving them a 2-1 lead in the best-of-5 series here. After, as Wade likes to say, it's not a series until a road team wins. I don't know what it is when a road team wins twice.
We got an extra bit of juice to this series now. We also got a closeout situation. This was a massive game, and the Liberty, talk about a valiant effort. The Aces have been the champs, but the Liberty have been right there in the mix. So by just terms of recency, they've been in the finals more recently than the Lynx, and they kind of proved to have a little bit of championship, a little alligator blood, flowing in their veins there. Can't get rid of them. And they come storming back. I'm like you. I didn't get to watch much of this game. And when I did, it was all Lynx. But the group text started popping off, text trading back and forth. A lot of casual fans watching this game. This was a big win for the Liberty, and it was a big win, it seems like, last night for the WNBA.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, it feels like a big win, but I'm not real sure why it does. I mean, the Liberty has probably been the best team in the WNBA all year. Now, the Lynx had beaten them, 3 or 4 during the regular season? They had split at Barclays to open this series, but it really does seem pretty big that the Liberty, especially the way they were able to do it last night. You got 30 and 11 from Stewie, and you got 13 points each from Ionescu, Jonquel Jones, and the rookie Leonie Fibich. So, and they were really balanced offensively and really, turned it on late against what we feel like is a really good Lynx team. So the Lynx with a chance to go up 2-1 at home, instead facing a closeout game, like you said, tomorrow night.
Friday, yep.
Yeah. So definitely some juice to this matchup.
Absolutely. And to your point, the Lynx knocked off the Liberty for the Commissioner's Cup earlier this year. So if you're a Lynx fan, that was so far removed. You're not worried about that. You're not quite as excited as you are about potentially evening this series up. And a classic game, a classic comeback for a team that if it wasn't going to be the Aces, I think a lot of folks thought that this was finally the Liberty's year to bust through in this new mold that they've been building toward. the Lynx have been a worthy adversary, as we've seen through these first couple of games, but they will have a chance to win it in Minnesota on Friday night, will the Liberty.
Yeah, and it would be all sorts of disappointing for the Lynx, I think, to drop game 4 at home. I certainly want to force this thing to a game 5 and a, all or nothing situation there. But, I wonder after you drop a game like that, what is your mindset when you go into, again, a closeout situation tomorrow night, or trying not to get closed out tomorrow night, as well as you have played against this team, particularly all year?
Yeah, their backs are up against the wall. The good news is they're playing well, and obviously you've lost 2 of the 3, but you've played well. You got the win in game 1, which really kind of set the tone for this series. And you had, man, this has got to be soul crushing in some regards. But I think this Lynx team is, championship worthy. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here this far. But they're going to be up against it tomorrow night, no doubt about it. Vegas says that the Liberty are favored by 3.5. So Las Vegas is siding with the Liberty in this game. It will be up to the Lynx, I think, to win it. I don't know you can bank on the Liberty coming out and kind of laying an egg like we saw last night in the first couple of quarters.
No, I think the Liberty will be on point and on edge with a chance to close things out. So might have to record that one, because obviously we both have obligations tomorrow night that will keep us away from a television to watch game 4 between the Lynx and the Liberty. So
and the good news is, if it does go to Sunday, it is on a Sunday yet again. We've talked about the scheduling and kind of how they've had those smack dab 2 p.m. First tips, but this will come at 7 o'clock. So you get a little bit more of a football reprieve there. If you're looking, if this thing does go 5, it will be at 7 o'clock on Sunday night on ESPN.
There you go. Earlier this week, we talked a lot about we have talked a lot this week about the Oregon-Ohio State game from Saturday night, where Dan Lanning intentionally put 12 guys on the field on defense and drew a penalty late in that eventual 32-31 win. Oregon will be the last team to do that under those circumstances. The NCAA has closed that rules loophole. And going forward, the offensive team will get that time back. Part of the ploy there for Oregon was that the clock would run, and that time would not be, reinstated for the offensive team. Thus, they had less time to work with, even as there was a penalty against the defense. So basically, the defense, as we said, won't be able to benefit from incurring that penalty. The clock will reset to what it was prior to the play in question, and then you'll go forward from there.
Yeah, and the Derek Dooley era, they know all about too many men on the field. That was not necessarily by design at times. And then we saw Butch Davis to a similar extent. Butch Davis did this in the Music City Bowl versus Tennessee, where they ran too many men on the field. And as a result of that penalty, that was before we had the time runoff rule back in the day. And that prompted that time. So we saw the reverse of that back in the day. So Tennessee fans kind of can sympathize a little bit, both good and bad, with this situation. And it's fascinating. Doesn't seem like we get rule changes in the middle of the season very often. So that kind of speaks to the magnitude. And, if this was UTEP versus San Jose State, I don't know if we're really talking about this, but considering it was 2 of the best teams in the country duking it out in a 1-possession game, I think that prompted the move.
Yeah. Football is a very dynamic game. Occasionally, there are specific situations where committing a penalty can give a team an advantage. A guiding principle of the NCAA Football Rules Committee is that there should be no benefit when a team commits a penalty. The goal of this in-season interpretation is to eliminate a potential clock advantage for committing a substitution foul and take away any gain for the defense if they violate the substitution rule. So says Steve Shaw, NCAA coordinator of officials. So there you go. Good job, Dan. I mean, anytime you can do something that creates a rule change, Bob Gibson and the lowering of the mound, um, et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty significant. It's a pretty good thing. So, I mean, kudos to Lanning and the Oregon staff for being able to manipulate things in such a way that they got a gain from this and fixed it where nobody else can.
Absolutely. The interesting thing would have been if Ohio State had lined up and known that there were 12 men on the field, and instead of running that full play like they did, if Howard had just lined up and just clocked it real fast, just take a quick spike, instead of burning 7 or 8 seconds, you burn 1 second. Now all of a sudden it's egg on your face if you're Oregon, but that's not how it played out. They ran the play, the time burned off, and then obviously we know what happened on the following play with Dak Prescott 2.0. So it ends up costing Ohio State. We'll see how that impacts the rest of the season. They got a loss. It's a good loss, and they feel like a team that can maybe even eat a second loss later this year, but still got the rest of the season to see how it plays out.
Absolutely. They will both be teams that we'll be keeping an eye on out of the Big Ten. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Oregon, I mean, props. One thing I guess, on this loophole, you can do this to about any other team in the Big Ten and probably get away with it. You can't really do this to Ohio State, to an extent, Michigan. The Big Ten kind of swiftly says, hey, we're protecting one of the old guard here.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, it's Coach's Corner with Will KRIESKY from Riverdale. Stay tuned. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, and this is Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party, where we are joined by Riverdale football coach Will KRIESKY. The Warriors getting ready for a big matchup tomorrow night, and Coach, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. And I got a question. How much do you and Matt typically talk during football season, and how much do y'all talk this week? Coach, hang on just a second. We can't hear you. Mark?
No, not yet, Coach.
Nope.
We're saving. We want to hear the good stuff too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I know he's got some good stuff. Nope.
Let's back out and rejoin, Will.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Looking forward to getting the juice between the two brothers again. Riverdale taking on Blackman, traveling across town to Blackman for this big matchup. And I think this will be the second year that Will and Matt have squared off in a Region 3-6A matchup here. Matt taking over at Blackman after Chandler Tygard left to go down to Cleveland a couple of years ago. So after previously spending some time over at Centennial. So again, these guys have gone up against each other, but there's not typically been as much at stake as there is now with them both being in the same region over in Rutherford County. So really, really kind of fascinated at the dynamic there, and hoping we can talk to Will about that here in just a bit. Riverdale rolling. Their only losses to this point, they dropped a 21-20 decision up at Henry County, Will's alma mater, and then lost one to Germantown a couple of weeks later, but they have ran off 6 straight here now. Wait a minute. I'm looking at last year's schedule. Excuse me. Yeah, and he's back now, just in time for that.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought y'all were 6-1, but I was looking at it wrong. Yeah, their only loss is a 7-0 loss up at Beach over Labor Day weekend. They've won 4 straight since then, and Beach has had a really good season up down in 5A as well. So, Coach, appreciate you coming back and getting me straight on that. But like I said, what is the communication like for you and Matt typically, and what's it like this week?
I mean, being twins and being who we are and 5 minutes apart, he's 5 minutes older, so little brother's always got to beat up on big brother. But, we talk every day. I mean, that's just who we are and what we've been, we're 42 years old, and that's all we know is talking every day. We talked last night. Now this week, it's more of not me calling him. It's more of my son or my daughters calling his kids to do the trash talking. My son is in 6th grade at Christiana Middle, and so he's on our county email. And the other day in class, he emailed my brother, Riverdale going to whip y'all. And my brother emailed him back, chill, bro.
So it's a family affair then at this point, huh?
Yeah, my daughter, she knows how to work the system. So if she needs something from Uncle Matt, she says she's going for Blackman. If she needs something for Daddy, she says she's going for Riverdale.
Nice. I like it. I don't know how much or how many opportunities y'all had to coach against each other prior to you both landing in Region 3-6A, but being twins, being as close as y'all are, how tough is this Friday night situation for y'all?
We got to play each other a few times, 3 times when he was at Centennial, or actually twice at Centennial. We both went 1-1. And then last year, I was able to pull off the one. The Riverdale was able to pull off the one last year. So it's 2-1 right now. with the brother, but nobody's really keeping count, are they? But so. But in Rutherford County, man, Riverdale and Blackman is just a big rivalry.
Right.
It's a huge rivalry. So we look at it as as in the off season as we can talk a little smack. But right now, both of us are fighting for contention. In the region standings, and a possibility of home playoff game. So this is about both of our programs, and getting the opportunity to play at home in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Coach, I love the fact that it extends beyond you two. It's a whole family involvement, and I guess what would the allegiances look like in the stands on a Friday night? I mean, do we have kind of the Kelsey situation where the jerseys are split, or how does that work for you guys?
I think my parents will just wear something neutral. Last year, that's what they did. I think my dad had on like a Riverdale shirt and a Blackman jacket. My mom had on like a black. I think last year she had a Blackman shirt on and a Riverdale hat. So they kind of wear a little bit of both for each team, and that they sit in the end zone behind the goalpost, so they're not sitting on one side. So either one of us saying, Matt's your favorite, huh? Or Will's your favorite. So they kind of sit neutral, so nobody can tell who they're rooting for.
I love that. And Coach, kind of diving in on the football side of things, as Mo mentioned, you guys do lose to Beach in the first week in September, but you've only given up 21 points since the first week in September. What's got your defense humming this year? Had only given up 14 and 12 in those first two games. What's got your defense humming this year in your mind?
Well, Coach Will does, our defensive coordinator, man, he does a really good job on the defensive side, but JoJo Smith has played, he's been a 3-year starter for us. He's playing real well for us, running to the football. And then our young linebackers that's come in, Aiden Edmonds has done really well. And Jeremiah Weaver's playing outstanding. And you can't forget about J.C. Haynes. J.C. Haynes is on the edge for us, and he's doing some really good things. Then our secondary keeps growing up every week. So we've really been proud of them. Bronson Chris, Malik Hicks, Hudson Fuqua, all those guys, they're playing well together as a team. And what I've really been impressed with this group overall is they're just all role players. You just don't see one guy just statistically just standing out. They're all just doing their job and doing what they're coached to do. And, you always saw Bill Belichick with that saying, just do your job. And I feel like our guys are just doing their jobs right now.
Does that make it easier for your offense, knowing that the defense, or how much does your offense kind of show up saying, okay, we don't need to go out and score 40 every game because we know the defense is going to be able of limiting the other team in terms of their points?
Well, for me as a head coach, I'd love them to go ahead and score 40. So we don't have to have those close games. But we lost 9 out of 11 last year, and some of the guys that we had last year on offense were really special. We had a special group last year, and one of the best groups I've had since I've been at Riverdale on the offensive side last year. So those guys, Dominic Taylor and Gavin Harris, are the only two guys that returned back from last year. So they've done a really good job of trying to help each week progressing and getting better. And as long as those guys keep getting better, the points start coming on the board. Dominic Taylor hadn't really played the last 3 weeks due to an issue with his knee. Hopefully he's 100% tomorrow night, because we got to have him if we're going. Because Blackman's, I think, Blackman's defense is probably one of the best defense we're going to see. You look at their losses. I mean, to Brentwood, to Ravenwood, and to Oakland, and they're all really close games. And those three teams are the top teams in the state.
Will KRIESKY, the football coach at Riverdale High School, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party. And Coach, as you mentioned, you guys are 2-0 in region play coming into this matchup. The winner really kind of solidifies a home game to open the playoffs. You've got Siegel and Oakland to finish up after this, and everybody remembers your regular season finale against Oakland a year ago. You're playing it on Thursday night this year. Whoever wins this thing conceivably still has region championship aspirations. So huge game.
Yeah, it is. It is a real big game. We have to stay focused and do what we're coached to do. I mean, a lot of, like you said, a lot of things are on the line Friday night, and we have to do what we're coached to do. And the kids got to, and it's an emotional game. It's a crosstown rival, 5 minutes apart, and the emotions are going to be high. A lot of these kids played youth football together. Some of them played middle school ball together. and they all know each other. So they got to be able to keep their emotions in check on Friday night.
You've been at Riverdale how long now?
Well, I started here as an assistant in 09, and I became a head coach in 2016. So, I've been a head coach for 9 years now. Don't make that face. You made me feel old, Pat.
No, I'm making me feel old. You've seen Riverdale be ultra successful. You've seen them be a little less than successful, and you've kind of engineered the return to that high level of success that folks discussing and watching Riverdale have gotten used to. What's that transition been like?
Well, it hadn't been easy. First year as a head coach went 6-6, and I was wondering if I made the right decision. But when you come to Riverdale, and the ultimate goal is when you take this job, you knew what the expectations were. The expectation is it doesn't matter who you play, they expect you to win. It does not. I mean, they do not care who you play. If you're going to line up and go against MTSU, they expect you at Riverdale to win. So that's just. But that's the type of job you want. You want a place with high expectations. So the sky's the limit. The kids keep growing, and the program is kind of, we've been fortunate to get some new things. We got a field house. I know I don't have ceilings, so you can probably hear my guys in there lifting weights right now. And we got the turf. We got a nice new turf field. So, I feel like our facilities have greatly improved in the last 9 years. And I think that helps, attract people that want to come to Riverdale, want to be a part and move in this zone and come play at Riverdale.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask you, other than wins and losses at this point in the season, just getting better week to week is a goal for a lot of teams. What are you maybe most proud of, whether that's a player, a group, or just collectively? What are you most proud of your team thus far?
Well, like I said earlier, man, I'm just glad we don't have the egos. And I'm proud of how they're playing together as a team. They enjoy being around each other. Like we practiced this morning at 6:15 because I feel like, what we do offensively, we need to practice in the code. We need to get used to throwing the football and catching the football in the code. So we were out there this morning at 6:15 in 34-degree weather. Some parents might have been complaining and upset with me, but for us to get where we want to go, we need to learn to play in cold weather. We want to take that next step as a program, and we need to learn how to practice, how to play, how to run to the football, how to handle the cold weather. Just like we do in the summer, getting acclimated to the heat, you need to get acclimated to the cold weather.
Wow, that's and it's funny when you talk about how some parents might be a little miffed by that, but those are the same parents that, to talk to your expectations from a second ago, expect you to win no matter who it is that you're playing. So if you're going to be competitive and you're going to win in those situations, you got to get ready for those situations. Like you said, Will KRIESKY, football coach at Riverdale, joining us here on Coach's Corner. The Warriors ranked number 7 in this week's Tennessee Sports Writers Association Class 6A poll, right alongside Brentwood at 6-1, behind 5 undefeated teams in Class 6A: Oakland, Maryville, Ravenwood, Collierville, and Mount Juliet, all 7-0. Coach, I don't know how far ahead you look. I know you don't look far ahead at all, but when you just kind of consider 6A football across the state right now, there is a lot of really high quality football being played.
Yeah, just think about, man, how much since I've taken over as a head coach, how much Tennessee football has grown. Tennessee, you look at 6A and 5A, and I think in Tennessee, 6 and 5A is just as good as any states around surrounding us. I think we can go and compete. Are we there? Are we where we need to be with the Georgias and the Floridas? I think we're getting there. I think we're competitive where we can compete with those guys. You saw Coach KRIESKY take a team down to Texas and win a game. I think that was a huge statement for the state of Tennessee. I think, for me, I was proud, yes, it's a rival and everything, but I think it was a statement for what type of football we play in Rutherford County and what type of athletes we have here in Rutherford County.
What do you attribute that improvement, on a statewide basis or on a Middle Tennessee basis to? The come up that you've seen since you've been a head coach.
Well, I think we've seen a lot of kids, that work really hard. You see the buy-in of the programs, the kids at their programs. I think all the programs across the mid-state have quality coaches. I think all the programs that you just named all ahead of us, they all have great coaching staff. They're all great head coaches. They do a great job leading their programs. Even the teams, even a few teams behind us that you said, I think the quality of coaches that we're getting in the mid-state are top notch.
Coach, I'm also fascinated. You mentioned you guys are still lifting weights. How much is strength and conditioning a part of your program, whether that's obviously preseason where everybody kind of seems to focus on it, but in-season conditioning just as important as well for you guys, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. I grew up in the James Counts senior era, and Coach Counts Senior was a big proponent in the weight room, and that's where I lived for the majority of my life. When my dad was assistant coach for him, and that's something that I've always believed in. And then I started out coaching with Roger Perry, and Roger Perry is also a big proponent of the weight room, and so we're going to lift at least 4 days a week in season. It's not crazy heavy at times, but we're going to be doing the movements in the weight room to keep our body acclimated, and we're going to do a lot of injury prevention stuff. That you talk about the growth of Middle Tennessee football. I think the strength programs and all the schools that we named earlier have top notch. I mean, they have top notch strength guys. One guy who I think a lot of is Curtis Graw at Mount Juliet. I think he's a top notch strength guy. He does a great job in the strength program, and I think these guys in the mid-state talk to each other, work well together, and they implement great plans for what they're given. Not all of us are given great facilities. I'm very fortunate here at Riverdale to have a 10,000 square foot building and, have a nice weight room for us to lift in. And when you have 106 kids, varsity kids on your roster, you got to have enough space to be efficient enough to get the quality work in.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of an overarching point. You guys are focusing on those little bitty things because the margin for error between all those teams in the top 10 or even beyond the top 10 in 6A seems like it is a razor thin margin between the folks that are advancing deep into the playoffs and the folks that are eliminated or don't even make the playoffs early.
Yeah. And like, you have to stay healthy, and depth is a key. And this is the first time as being a head coach at Riverdale that I feel like we have quality depth. If somebody gets hurt, I feel like we have a quality backup to come in and not have a significant drop off. And I think that started in the weight room and those guys buying into the weight room and what we've done in the weight room the last few years.
Matt KRIESKY, Riverdale football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by by 10 Pin Alley. Coach, appreciate you taking some time with us. So since y'all went out at 6:15, they're just going to get a lift and then get out today, or are you going back out this afternoon?
No, we're not going to go back out this. They're going to get a lift and go through some meetings, and then as soon as the bell rings at 3:30, they'll head home. And I think the kids enjoy that. We've done that past on Thursdays, and it gives them a longer time to get some recovery in. They'll go home, and some of them get to go watch their girlfriends play volleyball or soccer and things like that. So they like 1 day a week being a regular high school student. And I think it refreshes them and gets a little excitement coming back in on a Friday. And it gets the coaches. I got a few coaches that got daughters playing varsity sports, and they get an opportunity. We're high school coaches at the end of the day. We're also fathers, and it gives them time to spend time with their families and go hang out a little bit. And because I think I create too much stress for them the other days of the week.
Coach, I'm real curious real quick as well. The game's at Blackman tomorrow. Is there going to be an empty seat in the house for this showdown in your mind?
No, that's what I told my brother. I said the good thing, the positive thing is you're going to make a lot of money. I said, you got two programs that are highly respected, and a lot of people are talking about this game just because of what we both have. Ethan Carson, for him on the defensive side, as is an unbelievable player. Their defense is flying around. Their defense is I've said it earlier, is great, but it's going to be a packed house. I think my brother's already stressed out because I keep sending more and more names on that pass list.
Riverdale traveling to Blackman tomorrow night. The Blaze 6-1 overall, 2-0 in Region 3 6A. I'm sorry, the Warriors 6-1, 2-0. The Blaze 4-3, 1-1 in region play. The winner steps into second place in that region coming down the stretch. And Coach Will KRIESKY again joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Coach, we appreciate your time, and good luck to y'all tomorrow night.
Hey, thank y'all for having me. Wade, I don't know if your buddy is still Scott Blair, but if you ever see Scott Blair around, you make sure you give him a hard time for me. He used to Me and him work together here with Coach A-Lot at Riverdale, and he's a good buddy of mine, but I'd like for you to give him a hard time.
I'm firing off a text right now then.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. See you, bro.
Thanks, Will. We'll talk to you. Before we duck out of this segment, we need to give out a couple of awards. Let's start with our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. That would be the Columbia Central Girls Soccer Team, which defeated Shelbyville 2-1 in district tournament semifinal action last week, stretching their win streak at the time to 5. Unfortunately, the Lady Lions fell in the District 9 AAA championship matchup to Lincoln County 3-1 a couple of days later, but 5-game win streak, a semifinal victory for Columbia Central's girls soccer team. They are our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building function than athletics. Custom Stone Handlers invites you to get in the game. Again, congratulations to the Columbia Central girls soccer team, our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week, and our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week is independent sophomore Jeb Blackburn, not independent senior Jeb Blackburn, as you might have seen somewhere else here over the last few days. But Jeb was a top 10 finisher at the Class AA Boys Golf State Championships last week. Shot a 148 for the 2 days up at Sevierville, finishing 4 strokes over par, 9 strokes behind the eventual champion. So again, independent sophomore Jeb Blackburn, our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week this week. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Columbia Central girls soccer team, our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. And that's going to do it for Coach's Corner here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party. When we return to the Lee Company studios, let's talk a little baseball. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. No matter what's happening in the world, or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. And in our next segment at the top of the hour, it will be Throwback Thursday as we throw it back to a recent conversation with former UT Southern, former Martin Methodist bowling coach Bob Learn, Mr. 300. And he's going to bring us up to date on a new adventure that he's going to be taking. Looking forward to hearing about that again. Right now, though, we're talking a little Major League Baseball as the playoffs continue. And, you know, Shohei Ohtani continues to be hot and cold, depending on whether there's anybody on base or not. 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout through his first 4 plate appearances last night as his teammates managed to build a 4-0 lead. But in the 8th inning with a couple of runners on, Ohtani goes yard and extends the Dodgers lead in an eventual 8-0 victory. Again, 7 for 9 with runners on in the postseason, 0 for 22 with the bases empty. He's your leadoff hitter. And you know, while Dave Roberts says we're not moving him down, you know, the performance continues to make that a viable conversation at the very least.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see if this continues, if this is, you know, just a slump, or, you know, when he gets moved up to the top of the lineup after Betts got injured earlier this year. I mean, he was producing. You're also curious, you know, is this a Judge situation where you're only as good as your last at bat? And maybe tonight he comes out first pitch swinging. And on the other side for the Mets last night, Lindor straight up goose egg at the top of the lineup. So the top of the lineup for both teams in this series, at least last night, has not been kind. But yeah, Ohtani with a massive dong in the 8th inning to kind of really put that game to bed. Severino had a brilliant first inning, struck out. Ohtani swings at the very first pitch, hits it 1,000,000 miles an hour right to first base. And, you know, here we go. He has a great inning, does Severino. But then in the second, ran into some trouble. They had some defensive issues, and the Dodgers got 2 runs, and it was back to the old Dodgers in terms of their pitching staff.
Right.
2 runs was all you needed versus them last night, because the Mets, as much as Citi Field was ready to explode, they had nothing to cheer about.
Never got an opportunity to do so. That's tough when you've got your fan base sitting there on the edge of their seat, ready to, like you said, explode, and you never could detonate it. So the Mets down 2-1 going into tonight's 7:08 matchup. Yeah,
they have the late. Pretty sure they have the late game tonight.
They've got the late game, and it's on FS1. So
sure. You know, to your point, times were tough last night. They even showed a Grimace fan in the crowd, and he was very, very distraught, and it is not a good look. So if that is how the Mets fan base is, then this series is a wrap. If even Grimace or, you know, the fans dressing up as Grimace are in bad spirits, this thing is over.
Grimacing, huh?
Man, yes.
Here in about an hour and 10 minutes, we will have Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. It swings back to Cleveland. The Guardians down 0-2 in this matchup. So things getting a little desperate for what will be the home team in this one tonight. Yankees coming in with a 2-0 lead following their win in game 2 and the Aaron Judge home run late. So,
yeah, this series, this is purely up to the Guardians. This is kind of gut check time for them. Are they as good as their record has indicated? Do they have that kind of gumption about them? Because this series, on paper, the Yankees are supposed to win this series. It was going to take something from Cleveland to win it, or it's going to take the Yankees imploding. And to this point, the Yankees have not really shown any signs of imploding. Right. So now it's back to Cleveland. They have to come out and get this game tonight, in my mind, to have any shred of a comeback attempt.
And, as we've talked this week, is Terry McCormick rooting for Cleveland tonight?
If he's not tonight, I think you probably, yeah. If you have tickets to Game 5, you're rooting for the win tonight, and then you hope that they really pull the foot off the gas for the next game. And, like I said, the gentleman's sweep is very much in play. The Yankees are minus 800 to win the series. The Dodgers are minus 360 to win their series, for whatever that's worth. And it feels like a gentleman's sweep is on the cards. The question will be tonight, is Cleveland going to get that potentially only win tonight, or will they have to wait and grab it tomorrow night?
Yeah. Again, 408 start for the Yankees at Cleveland. The Yankees lead that series 2-0. 708 start for the Dodgers at the Mets. The Dodgers lead that series 2-1. It sounds as if, well, let me ask you something. Just how marketable is a 41-win Major League Baseball team?
It depends.
If you are looking to buy a Major League Baseball team, are you looking to buy a team that just went 41-121 and set a record for most single season losses in the history of the game?
From a pure baseball standpoint, the answer would be a resounding no. Now, if we're talking about the most inept of inept, there's a lot more that can go into that might potentially make that a promising acquisition. But in terms of just pure baseball, that is a chance to buy on the cheap, as you might say.
Yeah, this is definitely not a buy low, sell high proposition, but the Chicago White Sox longtime owner Jerry Reinsdorf is, quote, open to selling the team. According to The Athletic, he spent $20 million in 1981 to purchase the team. The White Sox are now estimated to be worth a little over $2 billion. That's with a B. And Reinsdorf controls roughly 20% of the club. So, also owns the Bulls. But yeah, there are conversations about Reinsdorf and his group potentially selling the White Sox. And among those showing interest in purchasing the franchise is a group of buyers led by Dave Stewart. That's former Oakland A's pitching standout Dave Stewart, who has most recently been involved here in Nashville trying to attract a team here, supposedly an expansion team. But there's also been talk, I guess as recently as this past summer, basically, about the White Sox potentially moving to Nashville. I think that we thought that talk was related to Reinsdorf and his group trying to get a new stadium in the Chicago area. But there's a lot of coincidences involved here.
A lot of coincidences. And if this does happen, that sound you hear will be our good buddy Christopher Gabriel clicking his heels. If Reinsdorf sells the White Sox, that's the first step. The second step would be selling the Bulls, I think, for not only he, but a lot of folks in the Windy City. And like we said, this is a you're not going to get. I don't necessarily know what the play is here, because he's had some quotes even as recently as last year that have kind of insinuated that he seems like one of these owners that it's, over my dead body type situation. Right. And now kind of here we are. It does seem like some posturing is at play. The long play, I guess, is, if you're thinking about your family down the road, is maybe angle for this new stadium, get it paid for by the citizens of Chicago, not by yourself, if at all possible.
Certainly.
And then sell, instead of maybe a $2 billion valuation, maybe that number jumps up to 5 or 6, and then you potentially sell. But if this goes through, a lot of Chicago fans will be very excited to hear this news.
They certainly will not be upset. Yeah.
No.
Just a year ago, Reinsdorf was saying, friends of mine have said, why don't you sell? Why don't you get out? My answer has always been, I like what I'm doing as bad as it is. And what else would I do? I'm a boring guy. I don't play golf. I don't play bridge, and I want to make it better before I go. Well, maybe he decided that 41 and 121 was more making better than he had a stomach for. I don't know, but this is something, and maybe it is just posture. And like you said, maybe it's to try to kind of shock some folks into action. They're in Chicago on a new stadium. Hey, if y'all don't pony up, this team cannot be here. So, we'll see, I guess. And again, it's interesting to me that Stewart, it says that a group led by Stewart. Now, I don't know how many groups he leads. I don't know if this is the Nashville Stars group that he's been a part of that is involved with this, or what exactly the situation is. But, the thought of a Major League Baseball team moving to Nashville is intriguing from a number of fronts.
Yeah, and Nashville is going to continue to kind of be the hot. We talked about it on the show yesterday with Tropicana Field being under, renovation. Nashville is immediately brought up. It seems like anytime there's any sort of expansion or relocation talk. And deep down, I don't know that with all due respect to Nashville, I don't know that you move the White Sox. I don't know that they're going to go anywhere. They're part of that $2 billion valuation. Like I said, is not to do with the baseball side of things. It's to do with the location and the market that they're in. Right. And so Nashville, as booming as it is, they got a lot of questions before they can kind of maybe figure that out. And if Reinsdorf, I think also we're really serious about, getting out of the game, I feel like we'd probably hear some Bulls chatter as well in this regard.
That's a good point. Hour number 1 of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. When we return for hour number 2, it is Throwback Thursday. We'll be throwing it back to our recent conversation with former UT Southern bowling coach Bob Learn. Stick around when we come back from this break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Joined by Mr. 300.
Hey guys, how you doing?
In the bowling circles, that's a pretty significant nickname there. Former UT Southern bowling coach Bob Learn joins us here on Main Street Sports today. Coach, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thank you for joining us. Wade was telling me here not too long ago that he felt like you would be a fascinating guest to bring on because your background in your sport is pretty varied and continues to be so. Just kind of walk us through how you wound up coaching at Martin Methodist / UT Southern, how you wound up leaving, and what you've got on tap next. That's what I'm particularly intrigued by.
Well, I worked in the coaching department at our governing body, bowling, and one of the big movements in bowling was high school bowling and college bowling. So I was really interested in getting a hold of a college program, one that hadn't really been fully built, needs some development, and try to grow it as a challenge to see how we could make things happen. And looking at the areas that we wanted to move to, and Pulaski popped up, and I knew exactly where it was. Had traveled many times to the Nashville area, and it worked out for us. We got to Pulaski and started taking. I think it was about a 5-year program. What would you say, Wade, when I got there?
Yeah, less than a decade for sure. Maybe 5 or 6 years at that point.
Still somewhat underdeveloped, but we got lucky. There was some good talent there. We got to grow it, and we got all the way to number 1 ranking in the country when it was decided that the program would not continue. So just like that, we're no longer doing it after 6 seasons.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, there are ways to lose a job, and I guess that is one of them. But to just have the program kind of snatched out from under you is kind of different, I guess. So, but it sounds like you have bounced back in a pretty big way.
Well, I was involved with Team USA even in the mid 2000s, and I went back to working with Team USA the past years. And through that, and being able to compete for Team USA and traveling for that, had been to Dubai, which is a amazing city, and had met the people there. And when I was there, I was approached on possible interest to coach their team, and they reached back out to me just past year, probably 7 or 8 months ago, with an offer, and we turned it down. We were like, well, we're just ready to move back to Columbia because we had moved down to the Tampa area, and we decided to come back to Columbia. We really liked it there, and they came back with another offer, and it was just one of those offers you're like, man, I'm going to regret this if I don't do this now. And it's a really cool place to go, and I'm looking forward to it. It's really the greatest coaching position in the world as far as opportunity goes.
Around the world
Dubai.
in 180 days, Bob.
Yeah.
You go back to Dubai. I mean, hey, I got to ask you, forgive me if I'm not fully brought up to speed. What is the status? Where does the United Arab Emirates rank in the hierarchy of bowling internationally at this current moment?
Well, they really don't have a ranking. I guess it's season to season based off of success.
Reputation-wise, even, yeah.
Oh, definitely one of the better programs. Absolutely. They've been well coached throughout the years. There's been a couple key long-term coaches there that have done wonders with the team. They certainly have the financial backing to be successful. So, they've had world champions from that program. So it's something that is really big in that part of the world within the Arab countries themselves. Their inner club championships, stuff like that is really a big thing for them. So, in fact, I'm going to be over there on the 15th of October, and the 28th, I'm already leaving for my first competition, which will be in Cairo. So we'll be in front of the pyramids in a couple weeks, which is kind of cool.
Which is where bowling was invented, is it not, in Egypt?
Well, you're exactly right.
That's that MTSU bowling education paying off back in the day.
It's funny because I took bowling at MTSU, but I don't remember that. Of course, there's probably a lot about bowling that I took at MTSU that I don't remember, but that's impressive. So you'll be bowling in Egypt, or your team will be bowling in Egypt. That'll be quite the experience, I would imagine.
Yeah, so I've gotten to travel around the world, and there's areas that I haven't gotten to, and that's one. I'm already knocking one off the bucket list. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great adventure. Look forward to many successes that we can have with the team. It's definitely a life-changing event. Never traveled more than 3 to 4 weeks away at a time from family, so we'll see how that works out. I'm hopeful though, because it is a really great city. There's a lot of Americans live there as well. There's over 40,000 Americans live in Dubai. So it's really a hub for a lot of activity. We have 1,500 American businesses over there. So yeah, it's not like you're going to be, not around the English language. English is their second language in the UAE. So pretty easy to navigate.
It's going to be a pretty compressed schedule for you, I guess, if you're going to be enrolling in Egypt here before very long. When are you heading out?
Well, we fly out the 14th, get there the 15th. It's about a 12.5-hour flight from JFK. My wife's going to go over with me, spend the first week and a half checking it out for herself, as she didn't get to travel last time I was there. We moved our stuff up to Erie, Pennsylvania, where my son lives with our 3 granddaughters, so she could be close to them when she's in the States. So we're literally, we packed up, we're unpacked mostly, and getting ready for, another, 12 days, I guess, before we take off. Spend some time with family.
Yeah, Bob, that's what I was going to ask. Your lovely wife, Stacy, how hard of a sell job did you have to put on her taking this position? Dubai, it's, you could do worse cities, I would imagine, if you're going to move across the pond, right?
It's the most modern city I've ever been to. And it's amazing architecturally. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. My wife, her, Wade. I know you know how she is, fully supportive of what I do. She jumped in when it came to the college team, and she realized, we had recruited so many kids that we didn't have enough coaches. She's like, all right, I'm jumping in. I'll be one of the coaches. Let's do this. So she's the one that kind of said, you are taking this, right? You are going. So it wasn't really I had to sell it.
So she was selling you, it sounds like, almost in a sense.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, especially when they came back the second time, I would imagine.
Yeah, you don't know if you're going to get a third shot at it. But it really was because we were in the middle of getting ready to move, and we already had some things in place in Columbia. And so that's really, it was like, just bad timing, But this time, I guess it was worth the wait anyways.
Well, Columbia, Dubai. Yeah.
Not often in the same sentence.
No, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Mr. 300 Bob Lauren joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. More than 100 perfect games during his professional career once he joined the PBA in 1981. I never would have guessed that you were that advanced, Coach.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we're kind of that same vintage, so I don't want to hit it too hard, but I wouldn't have thought. But quite the professional career. How does playing translate to coaching in this sport?
Well, when it comes to the fact that they condition the lanes and they put oil on the lanes, they put different patterns out on the lanes. A lot as a player you've experienced and understood about that invisible graph of friction and the transitions that happen within the time of play that you have. So that insight is something that you really can't be taught. It's something you have to feel. It's a sixth sense. And I think that's really where the success has been when we have these opportunities with teams, getting to be their eyes for them, trying to help them see what's out there. For me, it's very simple because I've done it my whole life. But as far as physically working with people in their games, of course, always thinking about evolving with the sport as it's changed. We now have a very prominent style of bowling, which is two-handed bowling. In fact, when we were at junior team camp this summer, we had 18 boys on our roster for the Team USA, and 16 of them bowl two-handed style. So that's a whole new evolution in our game, and have been on top of that since day one as part of the coaching staff at USBC. So I think it's always been about evolving, and it's helped me as a coach being a player that has evolved with the game as well.
What does the two-handed approach bring? I mean, is that a power thing, or is that an accuracy thing, or is it all of the above? What are the advantages of, two-handed bowling?
It is a power thing. When you put a thumb in a bowling ball, a couple things happen. One, it helps you hold on to it, but you have to let go of it, and you have to let go of it at the right time. And there's a transfer of weight when you relax the thumb, has to hit the fingers to be able to put proper rotation on a ball. Now, when you do it with two hands, you're not using your thumb. You can, but highly discourage it, because the advantage is having no thumb, not having to work on that timing of the thumb and then the fingers, having that opportunity to put rotation on a ball. Two-handers, their rev rates are much higher because of that. Their hands are much more below the ball to have more time with it. And so we see RPMs that are, much higher than one-handers can achieve. Not only that, but they never have to work on the art of release with that thumb. So bowling is a little different. When you think about having a weight, we are the heaviest weight of any sport. But the other thing is, when you hold a weight, you never get to put your fingers inside of it. And so it's much different because you're inside of it, you're gripping it with one hand. Mm-hmm. You're not handling it like you normally would with weight, but then you have to get a point where you do no longer grip it to be able to get out of it cleanly. So it's really weird. It's odd for a lot of people when they start because they have that issue with trying to have this weight where you have to hold it, and then at some point they've got to let go of it and be able to do it consistently.
Bob, I wanted to ask you you got right into it a little bit in terms of the analytics or metrics, if you will, that go into this sport. There's a lot behind the scenes, and I was kind of opened up to it when you and I took a trip, and they're a sponsor of ours, so we'll shout them out. But 10 Pin Alley has made a lot of progress with that, and that was something that you were kind of helping spearhead. I guess just maybe tell us what makes that place so special, and are they still utilizing some of the technology that you guys had helped get installed during your time at UT Southern?
Yes, I think the system you're referring to is our Specto system. So it's a computer animated tracking system. It tracks all things rev rate, ball speed, launch speed, entry angles. It does it all. It shows phases of ball motion. Really cool technology. I know I went through it with you, Wade, kind of showed you all the tools that we had there.
My head was spinning.
It's all about really having the right people in charge there. You have the ownership they come from bowling, fully support the true bowling side of our sport. But then you also have the FEC, family entertainment side of it as well. So they coexist in that setting. Not many of the centers are able to blend both. So they've been about coaching. They've been about doing more for the league bowlers. But as you've seen, if you've gone by there lately, they got the go-karts, really cool track, really nice putt-putt setup. And they've just done wonders to the place in the past 7 or 8 years since they took it over. They've put a lot of money into it, and they've created an awesome location for people in Columbia and Springfield and Spring Hill, rather, and all the places around to be able to come and enjoy it.
It's been fantastic kind of watching that just from going to that same building when I was a kid. And it was not the same, to say the very least. Real quickly, Bob, I also wanted to ask you, we've talked to, what was the reputation for the UAE on the bowling stage? I'm curious, having been in Tennessee now for quite some time, where does Tennessee rank at the youth level in your mind across the state? Do we have some catching up to do? Kind of just walk us through your thoughts there.
Well, actually, 10 Pin they host I think it's 7 or 8 high schools there that practice out of there. So I think in our Columbia area, I think we're doing pretty well. Certain parts of the state are not doing as well. I think you got really Knoxville, a little bit in Memphis, and then our area. But I would say that Columbia has as much going on as any of them.
Bob Larn, former UT Southern bowling coach, future UAE bowling coach, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Let me ask you, Bob, speaking of TOA, what type of injuries do you see in bowling?
Well, wrist, of course. There's a lot of tension on the wrist, so you have a lot of tendon issues because of the weight being used. I would think that mostly we're seeing that, a little bit of hips when you get older and knees, but not as a youth player. It's more about the wear and tear on the tendons of the fingers. Okay. The ring finger takes a lot of that when it comes to creating proper rotation. Puts a lot of stress on that particular finger into the ulnar, and that area gets affected. And as you know, tennis elbow, we kind of get that in bowling as well.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, obviously it's a non-contact sport, but there's a lot of use and wear type situations, I would guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it again, how much weight, the thing about it is you are using all the muscles in the body from the approach. And when you're two-handed, a lot more of the core is being used. So definitely strengthening is big for those type players. But yeah, the injuries are really isolated to one of the weakest links we have is right here, right in the wrist.
Gotcha.
Right. And hey, real quick, Bob, I've always wanted to ask you this, and I apologize, but I got to put you on the spot. Favorite movie, or more of your favorite movie? Are you a Big Lebowski guy or more of a Kingpin guy in your mind?
That's a tough one because listen, I stand for the sport of bowling, but if I was going to say which one I enjoyed watching more, it would be Lebowski. Certainly, there was some laughs in there. I even had to laugh at it. I've always looked down upon what Hollywood portrays our sport to be, but Big Lebowski, it was a good movie.
And White Russians help with that, so that makes anything better.
So, Bob,
Sure.
will you be bringing over bowling ambassador Mookie Betts anytime soon to Dubai, maybe for a benefit or anything like that?
Oh man, I'm surprised they don't pay him to go there now. They got all the golfers over there, right? Mookie, I mean, he's such a good player. When he gets done with baseball, I know he wants to play more in tournaments, and he has the ability to do it. I'll give him a holler if he gets hard up and he needs a place to go. Maybe I can get him to come on over. I think he'll be okay, though. I think he's going to be okay.
I think he's going to be all right. It's disgusting for anybody to be as talented as he is, though. I will tell you that. But Bob, we appreciate you spending some time with us, man. And I'm sure Wade will keep us up to date on what's going on with you. But look forward to hearing from you on your adventures in Dubai. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you guys again for getting the time to chat. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Bob.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
The journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. Really enjoyed that Throwback Thursday segment with Bob Learn, Mr. 300. Should have some fun over in Dubai, I would think. But Saturday in Knoxville should be fun as well. It's actually the third Saturday in October as Alabama travels to Tennessee in a matchup of two, well, the number 7 team and the number 11 team in the country. And joining us to talk a little bit about it is Matt Stahl of AL.com. Nashville native Matt Stahl of AL.com. Is that right, Matt? Do I remember that correctly?
Yep, that's right. Born St. Thomas Hospital, bounced around various suburbs. So, yeah.
Awesome. We appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. And I guess the first question that I would need to ask as we get ready for this ball game this weekend is, where do you feel like Alabama's head is? The past 3 weeks haven't been great, relatively speaking, I guess. I mean, you had to bounce back against Georgia, a team that it really looked like you had things under control until you didn't. Obviously, the trip to Vanderbilt did not go very well. And then last week, they could have very easily lost that game to South Carolina. What is the state of the Alabama football team coming into this ball game Saturday?
That's a great question, because, I mean, you also saw them in the first half of that Georgia game just like beating Georgia with a hammer. Like, it was great. Like, they looked incredible. But
Right.
yeah, then, I mean, as soon as halftime comes and goes, like, I mean, just completely different team. Nearly loses the Georgia game, had to have some, like, had to press the Ryan Williams touchdown button there at the very end to win that one. You go to Vanderbilt and somehow manage to lose. And then, yeah, South Carolina game, it never seemed like Alabama had it. It just wasn't playing mistake-free football. And, yeah, South Carolina had a real chance to go get them late in that game, if not for a late interception there. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I was asked earlier today somewhere else, like, what are your expectations for Alabama football the rest of the season? Like, well, they're going to play 6 more games. That's about all I got.
And it's crazy how, I guess, the selective amnesia that people have, particularly in the fan base. I don't know if you're hearing it or not, but not everybody all of a sudden is necessarily enamored with Kalen DeBoer. I mean, how is he reacting to what has taken place here of late, first of all?
He's cool as a cucumber, which I think people are wanting some of the, like, Nick Saban, like, fire and brimstone, all the things he was reputationally. But, like, yeah, I mean, if you ever watch Nick Saban speak to reporters after a loss, like, he was never, like, furious, if that makes any sense. So I think people are sort of, like, retrofitting Nick Saban to be what they wanted him to be in that sort of scenario. But no, Kalen, I think he's handling it well. It's always the same deal, always on to the next game, figure out how to win the next game, be present. Don't live in the fact that you lost to Vanderbilt for too long. So, I think he's handling it about as well as he can. But I mean, it's certainly craziness here.
What are the questions about this team right now, again, coming off of the loss to Vanderbilt and the near loss to South Carolina, for lack of a better phrase?
There's a lot of them on defense, I think, just to where, I mean, you've seen it over the past 3 games. There's just sometimes receivers just running completely uncovered past the Alabama defense. People don't care much for that in the fan base, given, I mean, you're coming off of having Nick Saban here, who, among other things, was probably the best defensive backs coach of all time. Like, he and Bill Belichick invented pattern matching, which is, I mean, it's sort of a scheme that's gone out the window here this season. So there's that, which comes back to, they got a lot of young guys in the defensive backfield, other than Malachi Moore being like kind of the stalwart veteran of that group. So that's something I'd expect to kind of get better as it goes. And then offensive inconsistency. they'll either, I mean, they'll score a touchdown fast or they won't go anywhere. This is a team that's only attempted 2 field goals this season, which is, I mean, the strangest stat in the world to me. They're just either like scoring on the big hitter plays to, I mean, you know, Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe are as dangerous as anyone in the country. But I mean, a lot of times drives will just stall out.
Matt, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Malachi Moore, and you kind of just talked about folks already maybe kind of yearning for Saban. We saw a lot of, you know, those comments after his on-field, you know, deal at the end of the Vanderbilt game. What ended up being the fallout of that? And does that kind of speak to your point that, yeah, for a guy that's trying to replace immortality at Alabama, where he sits in that position right now?
Yeah, it's another one of those things where I think people imagine Saban would have been stricter in the moment than he probably would have actually. I mean, Alabama, I mean, I remember Devontae Smith, the wide receiver Devontae Smith, not the current defensive back Devontae Smith, which has caused some confusion. But I remember Devontae Smith taking a swing at somebody in the middle of a game one time. And, like, you know, he didn't get, like, ripped off the field and screamed at in front of everybody. So, yeah, Malachi Moore, I mean, obviously lost his composure there. Yeah, some people liked it. Some people are like, "Oh, look, one person cares that we're losing to Vanderbilt here." But Malachi's a good kid. You know, we all on the beat, we all were kind of surprised by it because, you know, he's well liked, really well respected within the program. Generally, yeah, a good kid. So, like, I understand DeBoer. I mean, being hesitant to really just deal with him publicly. There was a public apology and all of that, but, you know, I think that's about all you're going to get from the situation.
I also wanted to ask you, you know, obviously you lose to Vanderbilt and then have the scare versus South Carolina. In terms of like on-field play, though, is that kind of the floor for Alabama? Where, in terms of actually maybe grading the tape and grading things, how have they actually played? And where are they in terms of what they're still capable of in your mind?
I mean, you could tell me that they lose like 2 or 3 more games and it wouldn't surprise me, but you could also tell me they make a college football playoff run and it wouldn't surprise me. Like, it's a hard team to, like, sort of handicap at this point and everything. I guess the real takeaway from the Vanderbilt game for me was, I mean, you remember back in the, like, heyday of Nick Saban, it took absolute acts of God to beat Alabama. Like, there used to be a running blog back when SB Nation was a good website and hadn't been wrecked by ownership. Like, just like all the crazy nonsense it took to beat Alabama through the years. And then Vanderbilt goes out and does it with a good QB, a good game plan, and mistake-free football. Like, that used to be just impossible. And I don't think that's a Kalen DeBoer issue so much as it is, like, the world of, I guess, NIL and the portal and all this other stuff. Like, there's more parity, I think, than there has been in previous years certainly across the SEC, but I mean, across college football in general. So I think the ceiling is less high for a program like Alabama. Like, you're never going to see again the day where you're just blowing out like everybody and it takes like kick sixes and passes bouncing off helmets to beat you.
Yeah, and as a Michigan fan, you know, I'm clutching my pearls last year in that playoff game. Until you cut the head off the snake, they're not dead. And that kind of speaks to your point that now maybe they kind of seem a little more manageable with mistake-free football, with some good play and some good scheming, which kind of leads into this weekend where I'm curious about what does Tennessee need to do well in your mind to win this game on Saturday?
Again, just kind of execute. Don't make mistakes. Like, Alabama's not been great on run defense. So I think Dylan Sampson having a big game would very much help some things. But I mean, if Tennessee wants to sort of get back into breaking open that deep passing game they were known for sort of in like the past few years under Josh Heupel, like, this would be a game to do it. Like, that secondary, like, you should test them, especially early in the game. So if you hit on some of those and you can sort of take the first half away from Alabama, like, really make them respond late. But also, like, if you're not doing that, use the run game, Vanderbilt showed you can sit on Alabama, right? Like Alabama's offense played very, very well in that Vanderbilt game, but they only got 9 possessions, and like Vanderbilt held the ball for 42 minutes. So if you can do, Tennessee's obviously not built to do that. Like they're not running the option, but if you can take some possessions away from Alabama, force Alabama to play like completely mistake-free football, I think you'll have a good chance.
Matt Stahl of AL.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. You know, Matt, you talk about all of the heroic efforts that it took to beat Alabama in the past, and then what Vanderbilt does, it almost kind of looked pedestrian, kind of workmanlike, but obviously it was enough to work. I mean, I don't know if vulnerable is the right word, but you know, is it a parity thing? Maybe. I mean, you look, it's not just Alabama. It certainly is Alabama, but it's not just Alabama. I mean, there are a lot of games that have not gone the way that we would have expected them to have gone in the Southeastern Conference thus far this season. I mean, is it as simple as NIL and the talent getting spread out a little bit more, or you know,
Yeah,
what
I mean,
what is this
probably.
season to this point chalked up to?
I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun watching it, though. I think this Georgia-Texas game is going to be really telling on Saturday. Because I mean, if Georgia wins this game, who's the best team in the SEC? Like, you'll really know. Every other year, it's been pretty obvious, like who the top 1, maybe top 2 were. I mean, it took an upset last year for Alabama to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. Like, you kind of assumed Georgia was going to come in and kind of run roughshod over that. But there's a lot of really good teams this year. You can't stash your depth like you used to, because guys can portal out if they're not going to play, and can find a appealing NIL offer somewhere else. So I think that has helped create some more parity. And then, I mean, the Vanderbilt thing was sort of it was just a lot of things coming together at once. Like I kind of felt vindicated in that one, because I've said for the past like 5 years, somebody in the SEC, like one of the more kind of woebegone programs in the league, ought to start running some sort of option, just because like you don't see it. Like that's really hard to prepare for that kind of offense in 1 week when you don't see it all. Like think of what Georgia Southern used to do to teams. Think of how bad it is to play a military academy just in the middle of your season, because you get beat up and it's like offense you haven't seen. So yeah, that sort of loss is just a kind of the perfect storm of events all happening at the same time.
You know, as an MTSU fan, I could have done without you mentioning Georgia Southern, but your point is certainly made. They are, tough to get ready for. That type of attack, that type of scheme is tough to get ready for in a short period of time. Again, with Alabama's performances over this last little bit, because Jalen Milroe was starting to really catch some fire as a Heisman Trophy candidate. Do you feel like the brakes have been pumped on that, or is he still, at his ceiling, one of the top college quarterbacks in the country?
I think at his ceiling, he's one of the top college quarterbacks in the country. Like, I think eventually, like we'll start to see like the Kalen DeBoer offense is going to be really, really good for him. They sort of built it around him this year. They've had some inconsistent offensive line play with like some young guys, and just things haven't fully come together yet in every game, especially with some injuries. But I mean, you got Tyler Booker up front, Caden Proctor, I think will end up fringe all conference guy at a tackle as well. So like, as that comes together and, things get more just streamlined in the offense, figuring out what's going to work. And also he was down to pretty key wide receivers in the last game and starting against Vanderbilt. Kendrick Law doesn't show up on the stat sheet a lot, but I mean, if it's one of those keeper plays outside that they love to run Miller on, he'll absolutely erase a linebacker just on a block. So that's he's sort of a key to the drill that's, I believe, coming back this week. But yeah, no, I mean, Jalen's always a game away, I think, from being back in Heisman contention. Like, he can be really, really good.
I was just getting ready to ask, Milroe, fifth best odds on one particular site at 12-1. It does seem like on a big stage in Neyland, for example, he's we saw him go nuclear against Georgia, of course, and it seems like he's just one big game away from being right there in the top two for sure, if not the top three, undoubtedly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can set your watch to, especially if Alabama starts like winning games, looking better. Like you can set your watch to quarterback of best team goes to New York. Like that's AJ McCarron went to New York one time.
That's where I'm wondering. Are you really going to sell me on Cam Ward versus Milroe if Alabama's rolling and Milroe has put up great numbers in these 2 or 3 big key games here?
Nah, I'm still not sold on Miami either. We'll see on them, but you could see both of them in New York. I don't know at that point. I try to avoid anything where I'm publicly voting on anything, so I'm not a Heisman voter. But yeah, it's I'd almost be surprised if he wasn't in New York because I don't think Carson Beck is gonna get there. So like it wouldn't surprise me if it was Ward, Milroe. If some Heisman voters are listening, Ashton Jeanty, let's go. Come on now. But yeah, I don't know that he'll win it, but I think he'll have a real shot at the end.
Other question I wanted to ask you real quick, Matt, kind of a macro question, but I heard it on another podcast this week. Vanderbilt obviously is a good team, and, we're learning that more kind of as the weeks go along. But with this new expanded playoff, do you think there is a small element of human nature where the players are like, hey, we don't have to be 100% locked in for every single game? And I'm not really sure where I land on that question, but at least I find it fascinating.
Maybe. I mean, I think if that was the case, you'd see starters resting late in like the season, right? Like, I don't think it's a player issue because like as much as like people love to, I think, make the players kind of the scapegoat for like everything wrong with college football all the time. But like these guys like playing football, they get into it. The coaches do a good job of like really emphasizing like week to week things. So unless, we can name another coach in the state of Alabama who's perhaps not great at getting his teams up for the little games, but having a great shot in games like say the Iron Bowl, hypothetically. So I don't think it's a player issue. If it's anything, it would end up being like a coaching issue, thinking ahead to sort of a 12-team playoff late in the season.
Matt, since you've opened that door, who is more under fire at this moment, Kalen DeBoer or Hugh Freeze?
Well, people understand the deal with Kalen for now. Like, let's say they lose 3 games and those 3 losses are Vanderbilt, Auburn, Missouri. People are going to be far less understanding. He's still going to be fine. Greg Byrne is a good athletic director, and also the buyout is like $78 million. So, that's not happening. Like, Kalen's completely safe right now. But and I think Hugh is for the most part safe too. People are excited about his recruiting. Also, I don't think the Iron Bowl is going to be a cakewalk for Alabama. Like, Hugh Freeze gets his teams up for the big games, even when they're in Tuscaloosa. Like, I think he's won in Tuscaloosa before, won one of those Ole Miss games in Tuscaloosa. So, like, if they win that game, he's certainly fine. Also, the things that will hurt him is if it gets like really, really bad down the stretch, and then their class starts getting picked. Like you look at some of the issues Florida has, and it's because guys saw DJ Lagway at the top of the class and assumed like the recruiting was fine. Meanwhile, like all the other prospects who were making the class good got kind of slowly picked off. That hasn't happened to Auburn yet, but if something like that does, like that'd be where he'd be in more trouble.
Matt Stahl of AL.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Matt, I assume that somewhere over the course of this week, you have picked a winner in this Tennessee-Alabama game.
I try not to. It could be like it's one of those, like, how do you even predict this? Like, you don't know which of these teams is going to show up, like, in any game so far this season. Like, Georgia or Tennessee could win by 50. Alabama, like, probably isn't blowing anybody out by 50, but Alabama could win by 25, or I don't know. Like, it could be a shootout. It's one of those things. Like, I don't know. I don't need the gumps in my inbox. So let's say Alabama wins 40-39 here.
And you can see that. And you can absolutely see that.
Oh, yeah.
See it playing
Yeah.
out like that. If both
absolutely. Like both offenses are
Milroe
excellent
and
here.
Nico get hot, yeah. So, all right, well, great, Matt. We appreciate you taking some time with us, man. Enjoy the ball game, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Of course, anytime.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
When we come back on the other side of this break to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we have breaking news. Stay tuned.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
It's the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's that's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, trust me. We are coming to you from the Lee Company Studios of our respective homes, and I'm a little shook up because scrolling through Twitter, as we are wont to do, came across a note from Jeff Goodman of Goodman Hoops, Field of 68. Virginia men's basketball coach Tony Bennett is apparently going to announce his retirement at a press conference tomorrow morning, effective immediately. Again, Jeff Goodman of the Field of 68 is reporting it. Apparently, the university has confirmed it, and they will address it tomorrow. Bennett, 55, led the Cavaliers to the 2019 NCAA championship after they so famously lost as a number 1 seed the year before. Under Bennett, Virginia has won 6 regular season Atlantic Coast Conference championships, 2 ACC tournament titles, and has gone to the NCAAs on 10 different occasions. He's a 2-time Naismith National Coach of the Year. And again, he is apparently stepping away after 15 seasons, effective now. Wait, I can't hear you. Try now. Nope. Wait, still can't hear you.
Maybe that's a good thing. Big shakeup in the ACC and the national college landscape. This is some big time news coming down. One of the elite coaches, certainly not the most aesthetically pleasing by any means, but one of the elite coaches is set to step away.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what we hear on this tomorrow as to what the thought process is that, at the age of 55, now is the time. Now in the midst of preseason. I mean, I don't know when Virginia opens, but
November
it's got to be pretty.
6th, I believe. Yeah, coming up soon.
Yeah.
And so they will get 30 days, whatever players that maybe want to transfer, they get 30 days to enter the portal starting tomorrow. So who knows what will happen? Virginia did not crack the top 25. And not really totally sure what sort of season they're anticipating. Obviously, expectations are always high at a program like that, but I'm not really sure what realistic expectations are this year. And so, yeah, that is big, big news.
By the way, number 12 Tennessee visits Virginia on November 21st in Charlottesville. So for what that's worth, yeah, that one literally came out of nowhere. We mentioned during the rundown, the Preds host Winnipeg tonight at 7:00 at Bridgestone Arena. The Oilers.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Not the Jets.
Not the Jets.
We're pro Canada on this show, so we want to make sure we get that right.
Get your Canadian teams right. Yes, Edmonton, the Oilers 1-3, the Preds 0-3. The Preds, one of 4 teams in the National Hockey League that have yet to win a game, joining the Avalanche, the Sharks, and the Canucks. So,
and the Oilers just got their first win. They had to go to overtime to get it on Tuesday versus the Flyers. So this is a matchup tonight. The records currently would indicate otherwise, but this is a matchup of 2 high-powered teams in the Western Conference. I mean, Edmonton, forces Game 7, that crazy comeback last summer, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, in fact. It wasn't that long ago. Something? Crazy to think about, but yeah. Forcing the Game 7 after being down 3-0, and then they just pick up their first win. It'll be a entertaining game, I think, tonight at Bridgestone.
Yeah. Jamal Adams. We hardly got to know you.
He gone.
Yeah. The Titans have, per his request, released the veteran safety. Was placed on the non-football injury list last week, but apparently, whatever non-football injury he sustained, he's okay from it. Played 11% of the defensive snaps for the Titans, 4 tackles in 3 games. Missed the opener with a hip injury, was sidelined this past weekend against Indianapolis. So again, 3 games, 4 tackles. Didn't quite approach his performance with the Jets or with the Seahawks in the short period of time that he was here in Nashville. But he is now gone. And apparently the Jets are among those that may be vying for his services going forward, along with the Buccaneers and maybe the Commanders. So,
yeah, kind of to me, just reading the tea leaves, it seems like he wanted out of Seattle after they asked him to change positions. And then he comes to Nashville, and it kind of feels like, depending on who you're talking to and kind of what you're reading, that he wants out because the team stinks at the moment. And so he's trying to play safety for a winning team. The Jets are not a winning team, so we'll see what happens there. They are into, they kind of have got some folks. They're kind of getting the gang a little bit back together. They're all about, buddy football these days. So we'll see how that plays out. But when they signed Adams, he's a household name, and it kind of gave you a little extra punch. I don't know what the expectations internally really were, but it seems like that is not a concern for either party going forward.
Yeah. Say wants to play safety for a winning team. Are winning teams really looking for pieces in the defensive secondary mid-year?
It kind of depends on what he's willing to accept in terms of a role, right? The Bucks could certainly be a good fit. Got some former chemistry from the Jets with Todd Bowles. But again, it kind of comes down to, I don't know if you're looking at signing him as a cornerstone of your defense anymore by any stretch. And the question is, how much is he willing to accept in terms of a diminished role? Because if he is willing to kind of hop on board, I think he could be serviceable. His best days are certainly behind him, which is sad to see, because at his peak, he was one of the best to ever do it in this modern era. But those days are gone, and it will be curious to see where he ends up.
Diminished role kind of feels like the key phrase
to me.
Right
Yeah.
here. Yeah. So Thursday night football tonight, Denver goes to New Orleans, which means Sean Payton kind of returns to the scene of the crime. The Broncos, second-year coach, going back to the team that traded him to the Broncos, which rarely do you see coaches get traded, but it obviously has happened before. Longtime Saints defensive end Cameron Jordan says, I hope he gets booed when he comes in. Like, how dare you go somewhere else? If they boo, I'm going to boo with him, because he's going to feed off it. There's nothing you can do to Sean Payton to affect Sean Payton. But he was there 15 years and he won a Super Bowl. So, I mean, do you really boo him?
Man, I'm not sure if they will or they won't. They're rolling out the red carpet in terms of there will be all kinds of promo packages and all kinds of in-game tributes. But the fans, it's a win now league, and hey, they need a win, and so if booing the coach maybe helps your team, I bet they will. The New Orleans folks are a fickle bunch, to say the least, so they might give him some boos. I think maybe, you see him, you get a, standing O or a clap, when they show the initial video, and then maybe when the team runs out, that's when they really show up.
And it being a night game. Now, it's a Thursday night game, but it's a night game. So, maybe the New Orleans crowd has had a little extra time to get in game day mode. So there's no telling what you get out of this. But another storyline here is you've got a couple of rookies going at it from the quarterback position. Spencer Rattler making his second start with Derek Carr's oblique injury, and Bo Nix has been QB1 for Denver since the start of the season. And in terms of quarterbacks, they went one right behind the other. Now, Nix was the last quarterback taken in the first round, and Rattler was taken in the fifth, but they, at their position, went consecutively. So they really seem to be excited about Rattler in New Orleans. So
yeah, and he played relatively well, had an electric second quarter in the Saints' loss to the Bucs last week. They got blown out in the first quarter, got blown out in the third and fourth quarters, but the second quarter they were on fire. And this is going to be an ugly game tonight. There's a lot of stars out, predominantly on the Saints end. Is you got Taysom Hill out, Cesar Ruiz, who's one of their top guards on the line. He's out, and Shaheed and Olave both out. And then the Broncos got Surtain. It'll be an ugly game tonight, but guess what? We'll probably still tune in.
Goodness gracious, where did the time go? We are done here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join us here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We will be joined by Teresa Walker of the Associated Press and Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7, talking a little bit more Alabama UT on Saturday. Teresa will give us some Titans insight. So, again, 2 o'clock tomorrow, Main Street Sports Today. We'll see you then.